All right, ladies and gentlemen. Are we live here for PHILO? I hope we are, but I think the Twitch just went down. So we're going to give it here a second. We had a very interesting... Twitch just went down. Oh, yeah, there it is. Yeah, bro. I don't know. We're back on YouTube. I don't know why the Twitch. Did you guys report me? But either way, very, very interesting day. Big downside. A lot of fear over the weekend with all of the tariff stuff. We even got to hear from the Treasury with more sanctions and then Caroline Levitt, but we had a big gap down, hit a new low, and then now we are climbing back up. There it is. There's the Twitch. Yeah, bro. I don't know what happened, Twitch. Yeah, it cut me off on Twitch for some odd reason. Well, we're back, though, so let's give it a couple minutes. We should be getting an executive order, but no sign of that. Just Caroline Levitt, and then everybody going back and forth with the with all of the the tariffs. So let's see. But now that we're back on there, I'm glad. Let me set this up, and I hope you did a push-up already.
Now down 20.
And I will be right back. Get ready for it.
0.4%. The Dow up 97, up 0.2. NASDAQ lower by 1.2%. 10-year at 4.24% with a 2-year 3.90%. Gold up $32 the ounce. Spot gold up 1% right now, 31.16 the ounce. And West Texas Intermediate crude, an advanced there of 3.1%, 71.51 for a barrel of WTI. Bitcoin, meanwhile, up 0.7%, 83,070 on Bitcoin, and should hammer home the point that gold, by the way, trading at a record again, 31.16 right now on the precious metal. Auto stocks ahead of tariffs are declining today. We have shares of GM, also shares of Ford and Stellantis. Right now, we've got those stocks trading mixed right now. Stellantis shares down 1.8%. GM up by just about Ford up 2.2%. GM up by 0.3%. For on-demand news 24 hours a day, subscribe to Bloomberg News Now wherever you get your podcasts. And back we go to Washington once again. Your hosts, Joe Matthew and Kaylee Lyons.
Okay, Charlie Pellet, thank you so much. Live from World Headquarters in New York, watching Wall Street as we do each day here on the fastest show in politics. Indeed, thanks for joining us on the Monday edition here of Balance of Power, live from Washington. Guess we could say it could be worse. The headline on our markets today, Kaylee, and there could be worse coming. You see Goldman Sachs warning clients now of a 35% chance of recession, up from 20. Morgan Stanley's Michael Wilson on Bloomberg surveillance earlier today, pulling back on the year-end targets. What did he say? It was 58 to 5,900 somewhere. We were getting pretty close to 5,500 this morning, but pulling off the lows here so far.
Yeah, as we end the first quarter, which obviously has been incredibly rocky for equity markets. Depending on how we close today, it could be a more than 5% loss on the quarter for the S&P 500. And a lot of it has been concentrated in tech in particular. The NASDAQ 100 is obviously the underperformer today, and it's the names we know well: NVIDIA, Microsoft, Amazon, Tesla. All of those big Magnificent Seven stocks are creating a drag on the index. So we want to get more on this and turn to Mike Regan, who is joining us from New York, Bloomberg senior editor. So, Mike, I guess there's kind of two ways to look at today. One being it's still rough out there for tech. The other being it could be rougher for everything else?
Yeah, I think so, Kelly. And I'm glad you brought up the quarter end, because I think that is part of the market action today, most likely. If you look at the year-to-date winners and losers among the main industry groups, say in the S&P 500, today basically looks like a snapshot of the year. As you point out, tech and consumer discretionary sectors, the sectors that house the so-called Mag 7, the Alphabets and Teslas and NVIDIAs of the world, are weak today. And they are the leaders on the downside for the whole year. What's really interesting, even though we are down about 6% on the year for the S&P 500, most of the main industry groups are actually up. 7 of the 11 are up, but those tech and consumer discretionaries are really the heavyweights in the index. And that's why we're seeing the index down for the year, even though most of its sectors are up. And I think what happens on the end of a quarter like this on this last day, you might have, what they call window dressing, where portfolio managers traders want to send a letter out to their investors at the end of the quarter saying, hey, we own the winners, we sold the losers. And sometimes that gets you a day like today at the end of the quarter where it really looks like a reflection of the quarter to date, because there really wasn't any specific news, especially out of DC, to turn this market around. I mean, the S&P 500 was down about as much as 1.7% early in the morning.
It's kind of crazy.
The
NASDAQ was down like 2.5, bro. My goodness. Alrighty. Alrighty. Chattadonia. How you feeling, baby? Are you feeling good? I hope so, man. We had to go through a weekend. Now we're back. You see? Now we got PHILO, bro. Now we got PHILO. So, here's the deal. Before we get into it, and you have your newswire up for a reason, because if you're here, that means you want to be here. Woo! Because you survived the Yosh and Josh. You survived everything, and then you were willing to pay $4.99 to be here. So, that being said, I want you to make the most of it. I want to have a good time, and really the point here is going to be workflow. I want to talk about other things not fully related to the market, and sometimes that gets difficult. So how we're going to do it is very simple. If you don't want to hear about life, if you don't want to hear me read a book, you either choose to not be here or you choose to not interact. Why? Because I don't have time to go through, read news, read the market, and read a book and then try to figure out how you feel about it. I'm not trying to do that. So it's very simple. If you think it's nonsense, more power to you. But we will not tolerate anything that is not stocks or is not PHILO. Because if you want to focus on stocks, I hope that you do that, because I could still help you out. If something happens, I will put down my book and we'll respond to it. So all you got to do, if you want to keep it on stocks, focus on stocks. If you want to focus on PHILO, focus on PHILO. Either way, everybody gets what they want, and we're not going to miss anything. So that's generally the idea. We do have potentially some events that might show up here. So, yeah, we'll still hear out Trump. Usually I get the report before. So that's kind of the advantage. So we'll see where it takes us, but let's get into it. And if you don't want to get banned, listen to what I just told you. So, that being said, baby, I hope you guys are ready. Is it the same title from Friday? Oh, no. I think I might have to change it. I forgot to? No. Oops, my YouTube studio won't load up. Well, thank you for that. I'll go and change that. But before I get into it, we'll see. Let's see how long this takes. Let's see what we get. But we could read the book today. I have a reading. But I also have an intro for you. So, can I give you guys a reminder? Can I give you guys a reminder? You know, I've been going back and forth, and I try to do it. I try to give you guys a secret PHILO on Thursday or on Friday if you didn't notice. But I think a lot of you guys like the PHILO, and I think it was a very timely and accurate, you know, I don't know if it was a warning or not. You have OpenAI risks losing $10 billion if not for profit by year end. OpenAI $40 billion funding could shrink to $30 billion unless company restructures. CNBC learns. That's coming out now. But yeah, man, I think it was a timely set of advice. Do not stress yourself out trying to get rich. Do not wear yourself out. So I was telling you guys this because, again, clearly I have been trying to motivate you guys. I've been trying to raise this standard. I expect you to watch a video or understand it, not just ask me for it. Again, the harvest is plenty. The workers are few. You may have gotten that vibe. But like I've told you, in the midst of it all, it's good to work hard. It's good to expect a lot from yourself. But if you stress yourself out, my brother, that's not going to do good for you. If you wear yourself out and you take all of this hard work and let it lead to burnout, my brother, you're doing it wrong. I don't want that. That's not why I'm acting like this. I'm not acting like this so that you get toxic and don't progress. I want to really see some of you guys do well. I want to see you accomplish things that are in the top 0.5% of the population, and I think you can, but you don't get that by worrying about this mission. You know what I'm saying? It's by doing a good job, being prepared, working hard. It's not by stressing yourself out and burning out. So I really hope you guys get that, and I think some of you, it was very good to hear. But then I came in the next day, and I'm going to do this every other day. I'm going to remind you. I'm going to tell you the opposite. I need you to live in the contradiction. Because right away, some of you, I come in, I'm like, don't wear yourself out. You're like, woo! Thank God. And then you chill. You liked how it felt. You're like, wow, I needed that. But then if that doesn't lead you to working hard, we have a problem. Don't use the wear yourself out stuff. Don't use it as an excuse to do nothing. You understand? And that's why I came in the next day to remind you the harvest is plenty, the workers are few. So every day, I'm going to just remind you, you have to work hard, bro. You really do. What a shame if you don't use what you have. Again, the diligent man. Some of y'all right now, make no mistake, and you've lived through this. If we turn the corner and everything that you knew about but failed to prepare about hits, don't blame anybody. Take your own responsibility. That's what it means. Harvest is plenty as workers are few. Are you being diligent right now? Are you planning? Are you listening to what your eyes are showing you? Your ears? Are you preparing for what you know and don't know? All of these things. If you're not doing that, then what? I don't know why the whole wear yourself out thing. Why are you loving that so much? We need to balance both of them. So every day I'm going to remind you one or the other to start off PHILO. Why? Because I want you to feel good, and then I want you to have a little bit of pressure. The whole point is it's a contradiction. We need the cross. Meet at the middle. Meet at the middle of not wearing yourself out and not getting complacent and not working hard. Do you see what I'm saying? Be at the middle where you could motivate yourself and not go overboard because you're like, nah, that's not going to help me on the mission. I need the energy. I got to think about it. But don't be the person saying, well, I can wait on it. I'll wait till next week. No, meet at the middle. We need both. You need to be relaxed, cool, calm, and collected while at the same time a level of urgency as if someone's trying to take it away from you. We can't go extremes on both sides. You need to have it contradict. Meet at the middle, baby. Oh, they're like, what? What? Is contradiction a positive connotation? In this sense, it is. So, that being said, I hope you enjoy that as much as I do, because I hope you're ready for both of it, man. And like I said, keep your head up, keep your head on right, relax, but at the same time, get yourself going, baby, and get yourself internally motivated. And again, harvest is plenty. That means you got a reward, baby. So let's get it. So now, my other intro that I'm going to give you, I love this one, bro. I love this one. All right? I heard this, and my mind was blown. Do you guys know you have 5 senses? You've heard about the 5 senses, right? Sight, touch, smell, hearing, taste. That sounds familiar? Well, guess what? You actually have 15. You have more than just those 5 senses. Did you know that? So yeah, you have your sight, touch, smell, hearing, taste, all that stuff. You guys are pretty familiar. Those are very basic levels of senses. Those are what you all, some people don't have them, but generally you are exposed to this at base model as a human, right? But then there's something else. There's your mind. Then there's your will. Then your imagination. Then your affections. And then your emotions. That's the other set. Have you thought about those? Your mind is what is giving you all the ideas. That's what's driving you somewhere. Your will is what gets you to take the idea and you're like, I want this, I want this. You start moving. Again, your imagination helps with that. This is a big one, your affection. Have you thought about that? Do you guys know what this is a part of? Do you realize this is a part of your soul to a degree? Because the things that you have affection towards, that triggers your emotions. And then that gets you going. Oh, I don't know if y'all feel me, bro. Can I give you a real quick little hint right now? You're being overly emotional if you have too much affection for something. Because guess what, my brother? You would not get emotional if your affection wasn't in that direction. I don't know if y'all feel me. Lockheed Army wants Lockheed up to $4.9 billion for Prism production. So I heard this weekend. This was the one that stuck out to me. Because this is part of your soul, bro. You have something called affection. I'm not talking like sex. That's part of it. That's why sometimes that stuff gets a different part of you, right? Because it's affection and then it ties into your soul. But do you not realize affection is the thing making you emotional or not? Affection is the thing that, think about it. Why do you want to help or not help somebody? Oh, because it's good. Shut up, you liars. Part of it has to do with your affection. Do you feel for those types of people? Do you feel for the people you're actually helping? That will drive you towards an emotional response or not. That's why the people you hurt, some people don't even have an affection towards them. That's why it makes sense. But this moves you. Again, all of these come together. Your mind, your will, your imagination, your affection, and your emotion. Again, even your affections alter your imagination. And then you start thinking good or bad, right? That's why you've looked at a girl before and you think this girl is perfect and she's terrible because you had affection and then that altered your imagination. And then vice versa. You have probably met the best person in your life and your imagination just got them to, you viewed it really weird and then you had a different affection. All of these things connect, but my question is, have you thought about them? But guess what? It doesn't stop there. So again, you have sight, touch, smell, hearing, taste. You have a mind, your will, your imagination, your affections, and then your emotions. And then guess what? You have a spirit. Do you know what comes in the spirit? You have your spirit, and then that's praise, prayer, worship, faith, and meditation. I hope you realize I've listed out 15 different senses for you. So the other 5, with your spirit, prayer. I love this one. This one just sounds like a motivational meme. You know that? Because prayer, you talk to God about your problems. Praise, you talk to your problems about your God. Worship is just giving glory to God in who he is. That's why I got a problem the other day when I was telling y'all, how dare you try to use finger to the sky to get somebody. No. I just recognize who God is. That's it, every day. That's what it is. I'm trying to get you to subscribe to me. Not that I want people to do what I say and listen, so let's all come together under finger of the sky. No, just worshiping who he is. Every morning I get down on my knees and I pray to God because that's who he is. I'm not only am I grateful to be here, not only can I praise and tell my problems about my God, but above all else, just God is, dude, he's the maker. He is the king. He is the leader. That's what worship is. We raise our hands. We sing our songs. Don't get lost in the sauce. You should be praising this. It's just giving glory to who he is in and of itself. Take away the problems. Take away the success. Take away everything. There is still God. And that I could worship. That is where we give that praise to. Again, that's another sense. I hope you guys get it. Prayer is a feeling. It's a sense. But that's different than praising. And praise is different than worship. These are all feelings. And then what's your favorite one? Faith. Faith is how you go and bridge the gap. Faith is the again, hoping for the things unseen. That's how you get, faith is how you get the will to move. Faith is how you get even off of your imaginations and other things. That's another activity. And then the final one is very simple. And this is why I'm going to remind you every day. I'm going to go back and forth between the intros. Meditation. Now, it's not what you think it is. Meditation isn't some call it whatever you want. It's funny, at times I've called it prayer, but quite simply, all meditation is focus. That's it. That, like I'm telling you, these are senses. Your focus is borderline a sensation. You tell me. Did you know you can't lose focus, you guys? You know that? There's no such thing as losing focus. It's all selective attention. Your focus does not get lost. Your focus shifts. Can you agree or disagree? Is it that you lost your focus or that you just started focusing on something else? I never forget about the play that I'm focusing on. I usually find another play. You see what I'm saying? It's not like you forgot and that you have no focus. It's that you just started looking somewhere else. Again, the long term, all the way down to your daily life. Focus is selective attention. It is just where you are putting your focus. So do you get what I'm saying here? That's why. That's the whole point. Bro, you focus on the long term, you got to keep focusing on it so your attention doesn't get pulled away. Why do I read my Bible every day? Do I live it? I got a whole email telling me I'm doing good and bad. But yeah, they're not my judge. But do you know what it is? Am I focusing on it every day? That's the whole point. You get pulled away from it and then get pulled back. But the whole idea of focusing on the word, even PHILO, is that every day we could have a compass to circle us back and focus in now on one point of our lives beyond money. Focus, selective attention. That's why I'm going to remind you every day, calm down, don't overexert yourself. And then I'm going to remind you, you better work hard and not be lazy. Focus. That's why the PHILOs and things, it's not that you forgot about them, you stopped focusing on them. It's not that you don't know the tricks to money, it's that you started focusing on something else. Most of you focus on the gain instead of everything you've learned. That's when you run into trouble. Yes or no? For me, it has. I know what I did wrong. I know the path I should have been on. It's when my focus diverts and then I focus on the wrong thing. So, Chad, these are your senses. It's funny, people tell me they're aware, but like, have you thought about this? Have you thought about all of these coming together? Have you thought about your sight, smell, touch, and imagine how that factors into your will, your mind, your imagination, your emotions, your affection? And how is all of that getting affected by your spirit, your prayer, your praise, your worship, your faith, and then your focus? So yeah, it's pretty deep. But I heard this the other day, and it should give you something. Because whatever part that I just said, something should have stuck out to you. And whatever it is that stuck out to you, that's something that you should think about coming into this week. Oh, Spy just popping. No headline. Just typical PHILO pop. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, no headlines. We good. And then all those, what's it called? The Omex and TMC came down. So, Chad, focus the senses. But again, focus will require meditation. Don't let your focus get pulled. And two, though, man, I hope you guys see life above all else, man. It's a beautiful place, and it's well beyond what you think it is. And what I mean by that is quite simply, man, you're taking in a lot of stuff on a day-to-day basis. You're seeing, you're smelling, you're touching, you're feeling. You have emotions. You have things that you love, right? Your mind, your will. So I hope all of you with all of these, think about it, because this is what I mean when I'm telling you, bro, PHILO in the market they're so unrelated and related at the same time, right? This is why I'm telling you, I don't care what you believe, because even if you listen to some of this stuff, I really think you're going to walk away with something practical. You need something to fall back on. But this is where I want y'all to realize, like, bro, on a day-to-day basis, imagine all of these things. It's not 5 senses, it's 15 at minimum. So how is that affecting you, or better yet, how are you controlling that? Wow. So, that being said, enough of the intros, enough of all of it. I hope it did give you something to think about. Maybe, have a good prayer tonight too. But this is what I'm going to tell you. We are going to begin now chapter 3 of The Everlasting Man. I can't believe it, man. It's kind of wild that we read so much. You know that? This one's a long chapter. I'm going through it right now. So, yeah, this one we're not going to finish. We can't read 17 pages today. But I think it's a little testament, okay? It's a little testament that the fact that we read through economic books, we've already read other books, man. Do you guys not see it? Bro, we could do anything one day at a time. Amen? Amen. I hope you feel me. Because this is what I've been saying about the long term. This is what I said about real estate earlier. And if there's any testament from PHILO, bro, we're reading hundreds of pages of a book. We're going through books, textbooks, all of that. And it doesn't feel like it. Because if you try to do them in one sitting, it's a lot. But yeah, bro, if you're doing it constantly, little by little, bro, just before you know it, you could tackle anything. And I think that in and of itself could always teach you something about what we're doing here. All right, man, SPY's about to break out. High ticker fully active, no headlines. And again, watch the wire. If you see anything, call it out. I might miss them. Atlantic Petroleum provides update on debt situation. But yeah, so we've been going over Everlasting Man. This is actually the book that helped convert C.S. Lewis. And the whole point is, he says the deeper you go into man and discover man, and the more you play into the traditional themes of what a man is, the more you realize man is unlike anything that walks this planet. And then he's been going over the evidence, been talking about logical leaps and people making a lot of assumptions. And once again, I mean, he's just going back to how rare man truly is. And how, yes, we share similarities with other animals, but no other animal can do some of the things that we do, even though we could do some of the things that they do. But all in all, man, he's explaining these weird situations, and one chapter at a time. It's, again, the book is called The Everlasting Man. That's why he's saying, if you haven't realized, you are walking, you are a man. Even if you're a woman, you are a human. And this right here is truly rare. And I agree with it. I don't know how many of you guys are here, and this was something I talked about on Friday, but bro, I know this world just tells us everything is normal, but your functions, the fact that you are listening to me right now, and you have those senses that I just talked to you about, do you understand how rare you are? I know there's 7 billion of you, but make no mistake, there is nothing walking this planet that has or probably will walk that has what you have. And you need to realize that. And that's kind of what he's saying. All right, 5575. Gap is being filled right now on SPX. SPY is barely down. Like I told you, that high ticker started to go a little insane. And there it is. New high, baby. That PHILO. But yeah. So keep in mind where we're at. Again, the second chapter was all about the professors. And he was saying, I don't know why they made all of these logical leaps. And now, chapter 3 we are on the antiquity of civilization. And SPY is ripping. Bro, that's crazy. That's 4 points from the bottom. Do you guys realize that? From the bottom that you were just at. So that's another 30 points in about 10 minutes. That's huge. No, that's massive. So you filled the gap now. Green on SPY. Green on down. NASDAQ still down 0.8. I think this is just that rebalance finally. So that's it. This is just all of the pension money. Fitch, initial round of tariffs is likely to have a near-term direct impact on Canadian bank commercial loans. Hey, man, PHILO pump is very common. Now I'm just mad I didn't have a call. I have individual calls, but no SPY. That's beautiful, though. What the hell? Oh, value plays actually came back down. So hold on. Yeah, look at value dumped. There's Tesla now at the new high. Nothing happened. We just, again, we shook off this is the reverse of Friday. Friday, you shook off every good headline and went lower. Today, you shook off every bad headline. That's why I went 0 for 3. And then that's it. You're just doing the end of the quarter. I think this is obviously end of quarter now. That's what they were saying on TV earlier. I've been talking about it for days, but it just didn't really show up till like lately today because you gap down big and then that's it. And then inverse Kramer. Duh. Yeah, you just went 0.7 on the SPY in 10 minutes. Yeah. Not point. It was about 0.4, 0.3. But it was big. That was really, really big. Alrighty, GG's. The Antiquity of Civilization, Chapter 3. The modern man, looking at the most ancient origins, has been like a man watching for daybreak in a strange land and expecting to see that dawn breaking behind bare uplands or solitary peaks. But that dawn is breaking behind the black bulk of great cities long builded and lost for us in the original night. Colossal cities like the House of Giants, in which even the carved ornamental animals are taller than the palm trees, in which the painted portrait can be 12 times the size of the man, with tombs like mountains of men set foursquare and pointing to the stars, with winged bulls standing and staring enormous at the gates of temples, standing still eternally, as if a stamp would shake the world. The dawn of history reveals a humanity already civilized. Perhaps it reveals a civilization already old. Yeah, you're still going up. Whoop. And among other more important things, it reveals the folly of the old generalizations of the previous and unknown period when it was really young. The two first human societies of which we had any reliable and detailed records are Babylon and Egypt. It so happens that these two vast and splendid achievements of the genius of the ancients bear witness against two of the commonest and crudest assumptions of the cultures of moderns. If we want to get rid of the half-nonsense about no-mens and cavemen and the old man of the forest, we need only to look steadily at the two solid and stupendous facts called Egypt and Babylon. So again, he's saying you could look for these societies, and people like to think civilized societies was like a new thing, but he's just saying, do you understand Egypt and Babylon? Again, Richest Man in Babylon, very good book, but do you know like the historical significance of Babylon? That was a very interesting moment of time, and that's why he's saying, I think we could learn a lot from there, but if you compare the generalizations of Babylon and Egypt, it does fly in the face of the generalizations of the caveman, more or less. So let's see what he says. Yeah, bro, SPY rip. So get ready. You're either going to get another little pullback and then go, or it's just going to keep melting until you find that spot. Of course, most of these speculators who are talking about primitive men are thinking about modern savages. They prove their progressive evolution by assuming that a great part of the human race has not progressed or evolved or even changed in any way at all. I do not agree with that theory of change, nor do I agree with the dogma of things unchangeable. Be careful. He's telling you, watch out. Don't be a progressive who has to assume that you are progressed because everyone hasn't evolved. That's a funny comment. I may not believe that civilized men has had so rapid and recent a progress, but I cannot quite understand why uncivilized men should be so mystically immortal and immutable. A somewhat simpler mode of thought and speech seems to me to be needed throughout this inquiry. Modern savages cannot be exactly like primitive men because they are not primitive. Modern savages are not ancient because they are modern. Something has happened to their race as much to ours during the thousands of years of existence and endurance on Earth. They have had some experiences and have presumably acted on them, if not profited by them. Like the rest of us, they have had some environment and even some change of environment and have presumably adapted themselves to it in a proper and decorous evolutionary manner. Okay, so there's your little pullback for now. State Department, USA team, humanitarian experts of the region traveling to Myanmar. And then autos are leading on that pop, Ford, GM, all of that. Adapt themselves in a proper and decorous evolutionary manner. This would be true even if the experiences were mild or the environment dreary. For there is an effect in mere time when it takes the moral form of monotony. But it has appeared to a good many intelligent and well-informed people quite as probable that the experience of the savages has been that of a decline from civilization. Most of those who criticize this view do not seem to have any very clear notion of what a decline from civilization would be like. Heaven help them, it is likely enough that they will soon find out. They seem to be content if caveman and cannibal islanders have some things in common, such as certain particular implements. But it is obvious on the face of it that any peoples reduced for any reason to a ruder life would have had some things in common. If we lost all of our firearms, we should make bows and arrows, but we should not necessarily resemble them in every way the first man who made bows and arrows. It is said that the Russians in their greatest retreat were so short of armament that they fought with club cuts in the wood. But a professor of the future would err in supporting that the Russian army of 1916 was a naked Scythian tribe that had never been out of the wood. It is like saying that a man in his second childhood must exactly copy his first. A baby is bald like an old man, but it would be an error for one ignorant of infancy to infer that the baby had had a long white beard. Both a baby and an old man walk with difficulty, but he who shall expect the old gentleman to lie on his back and kick joyfully instead will be disappointed. Woo! That's a banger. I like that. I hope you get the analogy at the end. He's saying just because babies and old men have bald heads doesn't mean they're similar, right? Just because they had bald heads, if you put one down on a bed, one of them is going to kick up and laugh. The other one's an old man. But don't let all of this fool you. What was the point of that paragraph? It's actually crazy. He's saying all these people look at these modern savages, they call them, and they like to think that was the beginning of time and civilization. But he's saying that the evidence of the quote-unquote savage, he says that looks more like a society in decline than a society on the come-up. Are you following? He's saying if you go and look at the caveman, the modern savages, and their clubs and hunting, we like to think that they were just these brutes who evolved. He's saying they probably were coming from a failing society, and that all their other civilization failed and got wiped out, and now they were at that starting point by the time we discovered that evidence. That's pretty crazy. I feel like many bearish people would agree with that. Trump says Yemen, Iran-backed Houthis have been decimated by strikes over the past 2 weeks. But he's just saying if you look at the story propagated, it seems more like the early savages or coming from a society that declined rather than the starts of a first society and civilization. Does that make sense? Think about it. The lack of technology, the pictures, all of these things. He says it sounds more like a society that failed rather than the beginning. Because imagine if our society failed today, like think about it. Like Albert Einstein has said, he says, I don't know how the next world war will be fought, but the next one will be with sticks and stones. If our society globally ever failed, we would probably be relegated back to the Stone Age. People have said that, right? If modern technology led to the destruction of everything, whether it's war or not, think about it. You would probably go back to, again, that's why they say get gold and farm and all of that. You go back to the early societies. But he's saying when we look at the evidence, it's more likely society has fallen than started at that point. Very wild take if you think about it. Entertaining, to say the least. Look at that PHILO pop. By switching to PHILO, make 10% or more. It is therefore absurd to argue that the first pioneers of humanity must have been identical with some of the last and most stagnant leavings of it. There were almost certainly some things that were probably many things in which the two were wildly different or flatly contrary. An example of which in this distinction works, an example essential to our argument, is what the nature and origin of government. I've already alluded to Mr. H.G. Wells and the Old Man, with whom appears to be on such intimate terms. If we considered the cold facts of prehistoric evidence from this portrait of the prehistoric chief of the tribe, we could only excuse it by saying that its brilliant and versatile author simply forgot for a moment that he was supposed to be writing a history and dreamed he was writing one of his own very wonderful and imaginative romances. At least I cannot imagine how he could possibly know the prehistoric ruler was called the Old Man, or that the court etiquette requires it to be spelt with capital letters. He says of the same potentate, no one was allowed to touch his spear or sit in his seat. I have difficulty in believing that anybody has dug up a prehistoric spear with the prehistoric label, visitors requested not to touch, or a complete throne with the inscription reserved for the Old Man. But it may be presumed that the writer, who could probably be supposed to be merely making up things out of his own head, was merely taking for granted this various dubious parallel between prehistoric and decivilized men. It may be that in certain savage tribes the chief is called the Old Man and nobody's allowed to touch his spear or sit on the seat. It may be in those cases he's surrounded with superstitious and traditional terrors, and it may be in those cases, for all I know, he's despotic and tyrannical. But there is not a grain of evidence that primitive government was despotic and tyrannical. It may have been, of course, for it may have been anything or even nothing. It may have existed at all, but the despotism in certain dingy and decayed tribes in the 20th century does not prove the first man was ruled despotically. It does not even suggest, it doesn't even begin to hint at it. If there is one fact we can prove from the history that we really do know, it is that despotism can be a development, often a late development, and very often indeed the end of societies that have been highly democratic. A despotism may have almost been defined as a tired democracy. A fatigue falls on a community. The citizens are less inclined for that eternal vigilance which has truly been called the price of liberty. And they prefer to arm only one single sentinel to watch the city while they sleep. It's also true that they sometimes needed him for a sudden and militant act of reform. It is equally true that he often took advantage of being a strong-armed to be a tyrant like some of the sultans of the East. But I cannot see why the sultan should have appeared any earlier in history than many other human figures. On the contrary, the strong man armed obviously depends upon the superiority of his armor, an armament of which comes from more complex civilizations. One man may kill 20 with a machine gun, and it's obviously less likely he could do it with a piece of flint. As for the current cant about the strongest man ruling by force and fear, it's simply a nursery fairy tale about a giant with 100 hands. 20 men could hold down the strongest man in any society, ancient or modern. Undoubtedly, they might admire in a romantic and poetical sense the man who is really the strongest, but it's quite a different thing and is purely moral and even mystical as the admiration of the purest or the wisest. But the spirit that endures the mere cruelties and caprices of an established despot is the spirit of an ancient and settled and probably stiffened society, not the spirit of a new one. As his name implies, the old man is the ruler of old humanity. That's crazy. Do you guys get what he's saying? He's saying, why do you have evidence in the old days of the prehistoric? Why is there evidence of politics? What do you mean there was a chief? What do you mean there was a leader? You don't know that he was a tyrant, but he's saying that you can't assume that. But he's saying if you're telling me there was some broader political structure of a leader, and then people are assuming that there was tyrants and this despot nature of people kind of feeling fatigued, he's saying that's evidence of a later stage society, not the beginning of a society. That's why he was saying democracy shows up before the highly democratic societies are the ones that failed. Believe it or not. I like democracy. It's a good thing, but what is his problem? Remember, doesn't matter, capitalist, socialist, if all the power goes into the hands of a select few, rich or politically appointed, you still are going to lead to a problem. It's not like democracy has a problem, but a lot of people who have studied history know that eventually power gets controlled and it's hard for men not to take advantage of power. Have you guys noticed that? This is like a political lesson. Do you guys know that? So this is why I like a lot of help people out theories. I agree with a lot of socialism. You know that? You guys don't get it. That's why I tell you, I read Karl Marx, bro, and I agree with him. The problem I have with Karl Marx is his solution. Because Karl Marx makes a very fatal flaw in his logic. He assumes that the people you put in power aren't going to be corruptible by power. Exactly. That's the thing that I will always believe. As somebody, I've made a lot of money. I've had no money. I know what money and power does. I've known people who've gone from nothing to powerful, and it's ruined their lives. Power is corrupting. So this has nothing to do with the PHILO. I'm adding to this, but I hope you guys realize that. That's why he's saying, in an ironic way, he's saying if you have any evidence of tyranny by the early societies, that's more likely that the society was failing rather than starting. You actually don't have too many societies that were started out of tyranny. Think about it. No society starts because of a tyrant. They're not like, hey, I'm gonna hurt you, have unchecked power, take advantage of you, and do everything so I benefit and you don't. And they're like, yeah, let's build a community around this. Never. Think about it. So that's why he's saying this is like a really obvious, or like it's kind of interesting that we argue about prehistoric men, and he's already given all these other pieces of evidence, but he's saying when we look at these societies and the evidence and the logical assumptions they make, if you really look at a society in failure, that matches up with the evidence of the first society, which means that the first society wasn't the first society. We just discovered the end of the first one that was left over. That's what he's saying. That's why he calls it the everlasting man. He's saying that humans and human have always been and are bigger than anything on this planet. But he's saying that society and the way we interacted, remember, this is all about distributism. He's saying that before people came together, there was humanity. You see what I'm saying? Before you studied humanity, there were humans, and they acted like man and humans, which was very different. PM on the high. Again, Ultras, if I still hold it, man, they love this PHILO pump. But yeah, I think that's a really interesting take, especially for all you bearish people or those of you who are interested in societies and economic systems. I've always been interested in this for my knowledge. I think this is huge because I agree with him. Most of what you see as prehistoric evidence of the beginning of society, you take those factors and apply them to any other society, you're usually at the end of that society. Yeah, very fascinating. I love this chapter. That's why he's saying the old man, when they called the chief old man, he's saying, yeah, old humanity, because that wasn't the beginning of humanity. It probably existed prior, and we just have evidence of the end of it. It is far more probable that a primitive society was something like a pure democracy. To this day, the comparatively simple agricultural communities are far the purest democracies. Democracy is a thing which is always breaking down through the complexity of civilization. Anyone who likes may state it by saying that democracy is the foe of civilization. But he must remember that some of us really prefer democracy to civilization. In the sense that preferring democracy to complexity. Anyhow, peasants tilling patches of their own land in a rough equality and meeting to vote directly under a village tree are the most truly self-governing of men. It is surely as likely as not such a simple idea was found in the first condition of even simpler men. Yeah, bro, you're ripping. NVIDIA, everything's starting to take off right now. I don't see any other headlines. Again, you have The Wire, but welcome to that end of quarter, baby. That's it. Gap filled. You're now back into Friday. And yeah, we got 5,600 and then 5,617 and then 5,640 again. And then all those levels we broke down from on Friday. Yeah, look at the high ticker. It's going insane. Now bonds and SPY are matched up. That's insane. That's crazy. That was a big move. AMD, Tesla, all of them, they're really running. Intel too. It is surely as likely as much a simple idea was found in the first condition of simpler men. Indeed, the despotic vision of exaggerating, even if we don't regard the men as men, even on an evolutionary assumption of the most materialistic sort, there is really no reason why men should not have had at least as much camaraderie as rats or rooks. Leadership of some sort they doubtless had, as have the gregarious animals, but leadership implies no such irrational servility as that attributed to the superstitious subjects of the old man. There was doubtless some body corresponding, to use Tennyson's expression, to the many wintered crow that leads the clanging rookery home. But I fancy that if that venerable fowl began to act in the same fashion of some sultans in ancient and decayed Asia, it would become a very clanging rookery, and the many wintered crow would not have seen many more winters. It may be remarked in this connection, but even among animals, it would seem that something else is respected more than bestial violence, if it be only the familiarity which men is called tradition, or the experience which in men is called wisdom. I do not know if crows really follow the oldest crow, but if they are certainly not following the strongest crow, and I do know in the human case that if some ritual of seniority keeps savages referencing someone called the old men, then at least they have not our own servile sentimental weakness for worshiping the strong man. So, this one was a little confusing, and he's talking about this society and how a purely democratic society is probably one where people grew their own stuff and traded with each other. But again, what is he saying? He's saying democracy. Why would you choose democracy over living in a commune where you traded with your neighbors fairly? Why? I think is a very good point. There's something you trade for it. Again, I like democracy, but democracy comes with something. It's not more upside. It's not everybody wins. No. If that was the case, why would we all criticize? No, nobody would be criticizing our political system. It's not security. Again, if I took 1,000 Chads and we built our own little piece of land and we were able to farm everything we needed, we were able to build all of our materials, anything, we would have everything we needed. Why would we? It doesn't have anything. We would be safe. We'd have guns. We have Chads who could defend us. He said it verbatim. Some of us prefer democracy to civilization in the sense of preferring democracy to complexity. Yeah. Good work, Ibrahim. S&P, U.S. tariffs and countermeasures will weigh on global economic growth this year. Yeah. No, just less complex. That's it. Democracy is easy. Do you not get it? You let average people rule everybody. Everybody gets a vote. How do you know who gets to say what? Everybody. That's it. These people represent there. That's it. Boom. But that saves you the complexity of creating your own distributed system and working together. And then, like he's saying, who do you follow then? He's saying, and if you go look at backdated evidence, ironically, he's saying, look at the animals. Even animals have leadership. The wolves have a pack. But it's not about being strong, but it's more so kind of, we've noticed from the old man to ancient societies and whatnot, there's kind of a follow the leader of following the people before you. So I could tell what he's doing. He's setting this up because he's saying there was not this sentiment to follow the strongest. That doesn't occur naturally in nature. But to follow an example ahead of you, that's something we see in all of nature, even from the animals to humans. All right, man, still going up. It may be said that the primitive government, like primitive art and religion and everything else, is very imperfectly known, or rather guessed at. But that is at least as good as a guess to suggest that it was popular as a Balkan or Pernian village as that it was as capricious and secret as a Turkish divan. Both the mountain democracy and the Oriental palace are modern in the sense that they are still there, or there are some sort of growth of history. But of the two, the palace has much more the look of being an accumulation and a corruption, the village much more the look of being really unchanged and primitive thing. But my suggestion at this point, bro, you're ripping. British, French, and Ukrainian military to meet in coming days. That's it, bro. End of the day. You only have an hour and a half now, but you guys, this is just all the end of the quarter. So we were just getting jumpy. We knew this would happen, but it happened the day after the gap down. Yeah, that's it. All this is the end of quarter buy. All that money I told you was going to come in. Oh, excuse me. Sell the tariff, buy the news. I don't ask Jim Cramer. We'll see. We'll see. But the village, unchanged and primitive. But my suggestion at this point, do not go beyond expressing a wholesome doubt about the current assumption. I think it's interesting, for instance, that liberal institutions have been traced, even by moderns, back to barbarians and undeveloped states, when it happened to be convenient for the support of some race or nation or philosophy. So the socialists profess that their ideal of communal property existed in very early times. So the Jewish people are proud of the jubilees or juster retributions under the ancient law. So the Teutonists boasted of tracing parliaments and juries and various popular things among the Germanic tribes of the north. So the Celtophiles and those testifying of the wrongs of Ireland have pleaded the more equal justice of the clan system to which the Ire chiefs bore witness before Strongbow. The strength of the case varies in different cases, but as some of the cases for all of them, I suspect that there is some case for the general proposition that popular institutions of some sort were by no means uncommon in early and simple societies. Each of these separate schools were making the admission to prove a particular modern thesis, but taken together, they suggest a more ancient and general truth, that there was something more in prehistoric councils than ferocity and fear. Each of these separate theorists had his own axe to grind, but he's willing to use a stone axe, and he manages to suggest that the stone axe may have been a Republican as the guillotine. So, do you get it? What he's saying there is that even liberalism existed back in the day. How do you know? Liberals say it did. And they're saying, look, from Ireland to England to Chinese and other even Jewish societies, there is all of these like social liberal elements, right, that pop up. But he's saying, I don't see that as anything except for evidence that it just shows you that you probably had advanced societies before societies were seen to be advanced. Otherwise, why would they even have these features? Again, we have been set the assumption that these were barbaric cavemen, right? That their politics was just by being the leader and killing people. And they were brute savages. That's your nature, right? That's what has been propagated probably your whole life. Whoa, Trump's new White House guy called medical marijuana a fantastic treatment for cancer patients. Whoa. How do the options play on those? I don't think we've ever hit any of those. I don't think they ever hit. Yeah, I did. I bought some last time and they didn't hit. I'm going to buy one set. I got me some 3-cent ones. $30. Again, that's what I did on that other one, and then that failed. That's big, though. I know, I grabbed a little one. Again, I don't think it's going to hit like the other one. I said this is dog shit, but I'm even putting on the stream alert. These never hit. Last time I played one, it never hit. So you'll be better off flipping shares. I wanted to do it, but I don't think it's worth getting caught up in there for the $10, $20. That's why I said I'll just put $30. That's it. I don't have to worry about it. QQ. It might go green. You're only 0.3. Honestly, the next wave, you might get like a little pullback, and then the next upside wave, that's when you're going to go crazy. Prudential popping. All right. But yeah, like he's saying, bro, these societies weren't ran off of ferocity and fear. If even the liberals will admit to liberal things back in the day. That's all. This isn't a shade against liberalism. This is just saying those are all advanced features of society. So it's weird that we call prehistoric men these barbarians, but you look at all these little evidential points, these probably indicate more of a society than not, or at least a society that wasn't as grotesque and unadvanced as people make it seem to be. We didn't rock it for any reason. I think this is the end of the quarter rebalancing. But the truth is that current rises upon the play already in progress. In one sense, it is a true paradox that there was a history before history, but it's not the irrational paradox implied in prehistoric history, for it is history we do not know. Very probably it was exceedingly like the history we do know, except in the one detail that we don't know it. It is thus very opposite of the pretentious prehistoric history, which professes to trace everything in a consistent course from the amoeba to the anthropoid and from the anthropoid to the agnostic. So far from being a question of our knowing all about queer creatures very different from ourselves. They were very probably people very like ourselves, except we know nothing about them. In other words, our most ancient records only reach back to a time when humanity had long been human and even long been civilized. The most ancient records we have not only mention, but take for granted things like kings and priests and princes and assemblies of the people. They describe communities that are roughly recognizable as communities in our own sense. Some of them are despotic, but we cannot tell that they have always been despotic. Some of them may be already decadent, and nearly all are mentioned as if they were old. We do not know what really happened in the world before those records, but the little we do know would leave us anything but astonished if we learned that it was very much like what happens in this world now. There would be nothing inconsistent or confounding about the discovery that those unknown ages were full of republics and collapsed under monarchies and rising again as republics, empires expanding and finding colonies and losing colonies, and kingdoms combining into world states and breaking up again into small nationalities, and classes selling themselves into slavery and marching out once more into liberty. All that procession of humanity, which may or may not be a progress, but most assuredly a romance. But the first chapters of the romance have been torn out of the book, and we shall never read them. It is also, was that the end of the, that was the end of the paragraph. So again, a lot of art, the way he talked about it sounds good, but he's just saying, chances are we ripped out the first pages, and we probably had societies and communities. You don't know how advanced, but they were probably closer to where we're at today than this idea that we came from savages and brutes. Again, savages and brutes is more likely the end of a society rather than the beginning. That blows my mind. I love that. I think they push that idea because it's just easier to justify sex, violence, selfishness, and the bad parts of capitalism if you believe that, right? I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. Deep down, when I would do things sexually back in the day, I'd be like, I'm just a man. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's it. Like, I'm by nature, bro, I'm supposed to be killing and fucking. That's it. That's what they told me as a caveman. You see, again, if you get in violence and being violent, like, I'm just a man. That's what I'm supposed to do. But I think, again, if you kind of look back, there might be, that's an assumption. Yeah, boys will be boys. Yeah, literally. No, 100%. But I think that's easy to justify that with this logic. But deep down, like, what if I told you, no, like, you come from a line of kings, right? Like prehistoric, like actually, no, you come from a line of kings in prehistoric society, and they worked together, they worked hard, and they never acted like brutes. You know, that would be different. Then you would feel bad about falling short, and then you might take more pride in becoming who you were as a human or whatever else you call it. But yeah, like he's saying, though, it's just, we see this page of our man, you know, the everlasting man. That's us. You guys realize that. You should love this talk. I don't care what you believe in, because this is our species. You know that? This is all of us. I don't care what color you are. I don't care where you're from. We are all the same species. That's what I'm saying. I'm an advocate for the human species. But he's saying our first chapters were probably ripped out, because all we know about history is what was recorded. He is just saying there's a higher probability. He has no evidence, but there's a higher probability we had more than just this idea of starting as savages. It's also, with the more special fancy about evolution and social stability, according to the real records available, barbarianism and civilization were not successive states in the progressive world. They were conditions that existed side by side as they still exist side by side. There were civilizations then as there are civilizations now. There are savages now as there were savages then. It is suggested that all men pass through a nomadic stage, but it's certain that there are some who have never passed out of it. And it seems not unlikely that there were some who never passed into it. It's probable that from very primitive times, the static tiller of the soil and the wandering shepherd were two distinct types of men. and the chronological rearrangement of them is but a mark of that mania for progressive stages that is largely falsified history. It suggested that there was a communist stage in which private property was everywhere unknown, a whole humanity living on the negation of property, but the evidences of this negation are themselves rather negative. Redistributions of property, jubilees, and agrarian laws occur at various intervals and in various forms. But the humanity inevitably passed through a communist stage seems as doubtful as the parallel proposition that humanity will inevitably return to it. It is chiefly interesting as evidence that the boldest plans for the future invoke the authority of the past, and that even a revolutionary seeks to satisfy himself that he is also a reactionary. There is an amazing, amusing parable example in this case of what is called feminism. In spite of all the pseudo-scientific gossip about marriage by capture and the caveman beating the cavewoman with a club, it may be noted that as soon as feminism became a fashionable cry, it was insisted that human civilization in its first stage had been a matriarchy. Apparently, it was the cavewoman who carried the club. Anyhow, all these ideas are a little better than guesses. They have a curious way of following the fortune of modern theories and fads. In any other case, they are not history in the sense of record, and we may repeat that when it comes to record. The broad truth is that barbarianism and civilization have always dwelt side by side in the world. The civilization sometimes spreading to absorb barbarians, sometimes decaying into relative barbarianism, and in almost all cases possessing in a more furnished from certain ideas the institutions which the barbarians possess in a ruder form, such as government or societal authority, the arts, especially decorative arts, mysteries and taboos of various kinds, especially surrounding the matters of sex, and some form of the fundamental thing, which is the chief concern of this inquiry, the thing that we call religion. So he's saying, they like to say that history has passed through these stages, but he's saying it's more likely that these stages have already exist side by side. You don't go through barbarianism to this. He's saying you probably balance them, and at different times we go more through one to the other. And he says that because chronologically it doesn't match up. So he's saying you could say we went through times of communism, but it's not like you go through it and then that's it, and then it was history. You'll notice at times people lean towards one and the other, and different societies at different points, they have a different recorded history of how they engaged in those things. So he's saying it's more likely that from the beginning of the time, these things probably ran equivalent to each other, and you kind of went back and forth. Now, Egypt and Babylon, those two primeval monsters, might in this matter have been specially provided as models. They might also be called working models to show how these modern theories do not work. The two great truths we know about these two great cultures happen to contradict flatly the two current fallacies which have been considered. The story of Egypt might have been invented to the point the moral that man does not necessarily begin with despotism because he is barbarous, but very often finds his way to despotism because he is civilized. He finds it because he is experienced, or, what is often much the same thing, because he is exhausted, and the story of Babylon might have been invented to point the moral man that man need not be a no-man or a communist before he becomes a peasant or a citizen, and that such cultures are not always in successive stages, but often in contemporary states. Even touching these great civilizations with which our written history begins, there is a temptation, of course, to be too ingenious or too cocksure. We can read the bricks of Babylon in a very different sense from that in which we guess about the cup and ring stones. Oh, dude, I thought we were going down. No, I saw the high ticker in the corner of my eye. I thought it was the low ticker. Nope, new high, baby. PHILO run. Rings and stones, and we do so definitely know what it's meant by the animals in the Egyptian hieroglyph, as we know nothing of the animal in the Neolithic cave. But even here, the admirable archaeologists who have deciphered line after line of miles of hieroglyphs may be tempted to read too much between the lines. Even the real authority of Babylon may forget how fragmentary is his hard-won knowledge, may forget that Babylon has only heaved half a brick at him, though half a brick is better than no cuneiform. But some truths, historic and not prehistoric, dogmatic and not evolutionary, facts and not fancies, do indeed emerge from Egypt and Babylon, and these two truths are among them. Egypt is a green ribbon along the river edging the dark red desolation of the desert. It's a proverb and one of vast antiquity that is created by the mysterious bounty and almost sinister benevolence of the Nile. When we first hear of Egyptians, they are living as in a string of riverside villages, in small and separate but cooperative communities along the bank of the Nile. Where the river branched into the broad delta, there was traditionally the beginning of somewhat different district or people. But this need not complicate the main truth. These more or less independent, though interdependent peoples were considered civilized already. They had a sort of heraldry, that is, decorative art used for symbolic and social purposes, each sailing the Nile under their own ensign, representing some bird or animal. Heraldry involves two things of enormous importance to normal humanity: the combination of two making the notable thing called cooperation, one which rests all peasantries and peoples that are free. The art of heraldry means independence, an image chosen by imagination to express individuality. The science of heraldry means interdependence, an agreement between different bodies to recognize different images, a science of imagery. We have here, therefore, exactly that compromise of cooperation between free families or groups, which is the most normal mode of life for humanity and is particularly apparent wherever men own their own land and live on it. With the very mention of the image of bird and beast, the student of mythology will murmur the word totem almost in his sleep. But to my mind, much of the trouble arises from his habit of saying such words as if in his sleep. Throughout this thorough, rough outline, I have made a necessarily inadequate attempt to keep on the inside rather than the outside of such things, to consider them where possible in terms of thought and not merely in terms of terminology. There is very little value in thinking about totems unless we have some feeling of what it really felt like to have a totem. Granted that they have had totems, we have no totems. Was it because they had more fear of animals or more familiarity with animals? Did a man on whose totem was a wolf feel like a werewolf or like a man running away from a werewolf? Did he feel like Uncle Remus about Brer Wolf or like St. Francis about his brother the wolf? Or like Mowgli about his brothers the wolves? Was a totem a thing like British lion or a thing like British bulldog? Was the worship of a totem the feeling of mumbo jumbo or of children's of jumbo? I have never... That's crazy. There is a bad word in this book. I just... Dude, that's crazy. Don't read that. I have never read any book or folklore, however, learned that's given me light upon this question, which I thought by the far most important one. I will confine myself to repeating the earliest Egyptian communities had a common understanding about the images that stood for their individual states, and that this amount of communication is prehistoric in the sense that it's already there at the beginning of history, but as history unfolds itself, this question of communication is clearly the main question of these riverside communities. With the need of communication comes the need of a common government and the growing greatness of spreading shadow of the king. The other binding forces besides the king, and perhaps the older than the king, is the priesthood. And the priesthood has presumably even more to do with their ritual symbols and signals which men could communicate. And here in Egypt arose probably the primary and certainly the typical invention to which we owe all history and the whole difference between historic and prehistoric, the architectural script, the art of writing. Ta-da! So again, he's saying Egypt and Babylon. Do you realize writing came from Egypt? So your history started after this Egypt stuff, but he's saying these societies in Egypt, if they were all living in different communities and they all had different symbols and that's very, very advanced. But there's no history of it because we didn't have writing before that. You just had the pictures and then you didn't know what it was meant. And then if any other evidence got wiped out, you just wouldn't know. But he's actually, and then he's saying, oh yeah, right away the student is quick to say totem. Oh yeah, they worship their totem poles. But he's saying you don't know what a totem pole is. You've never lived in that time. He's saying be careful of just jumping the terminology to try to give your mind a answer. What? I am District 19 reached tentative agreement. Mm-hmm. All right, where are we? The popular pictures of these primeval empires are not half so popular as they might be. There is a shed over them in the shadow of an exaggerated gloom, more than the normal and even healthy sadness of heathen men. It's part of the same sort of secret pessimism that loves to make primitive men a crawling creature, whose body is filth and whose soul is fear. It comes, of course, from the fact that men are moved most by their religion, especially when it is irreligion. For them, anything primary and elemental must be evil. But it is the curious consequence that while we have deluged with the wildest experiments in primitive romance, they have all missed the real romance of being primitive. They have described scenes that are wholly imaginary, in which the men of the Stone Age are men of the stone like walking statues, in which the Assyrians or Egyptians are as stiff or as painted as their most archaic art. But none of these makers of imaginary scenes have tried to imagine what it must really have been like to see those things as fresh when we see as familiar. They have not seen a man discovering fire like a child discovering fireworks. They have not seen a man playing with the wonderful invention called the wheel like a boy playing at putting up a wireless station. They have never put the spirit of youth into their descriptions of the youth of the world. It follows that amid all of their primitive or prehistoric fancies, there are no jokes. There are not even practical jokes in connection with the practical inventions. And this is very sharply defined in the particular case of hieroglyphs. For there seems to be serious indication that the whole high human art of scripture or writing began with a joke. There are some who will learn with regret that it seems to have all began with a pun. The king or the priest or some responsible person wishing to send a message up the river in that inconveniently long and narrow territory hit on the idea of sending it in a picture writing like that of a red Indian. Like most people who have written picture writing for fun, he found words did not always fit. But when the word for taxes sounded rather like the word for pig, he boldly put down a pig as a bad pun and chanced it. So a modern hieroglyphist might represent at once by unscrupulously drawing a hat followed by a series of upright numerals. It was good enough for the pharaohs and ought to be good enough for him, but it must have been great fun to write or even to read these messages when they were really a new thing. And if people must write romances about ancient Egypt, and it seems that neither prayers nor tears nor curses withhold them from the habit, I suggest that scenes like this would really remind us that ancient Egyptians were human beings. I suggest that somebody should describe the scene of a great monarch sitting among the priests and all of them roaring with laughter and bubbling over with suggestions as the royal puns grew more and more wild and indefensible. IMF Georgieva talking. There might be another scene, almost equal excitement, about decoding of this cipher, the guesses and clues and discoveries having all the proper thrill of a detective story. That is somehow primitive romance and primitive history really ought to be written. For whatever was the quality of the religious or moral life of remote times, and what is probably much more human than is conventionally supposed, the scientific interest of such a time must have been intense. Words must have been more wonderful than wireless telegraphy, and experiments with common things a series of electrical shocks. We're still waiting for somebody to write a lively story of primitive life. The point is, in some sense of parenthesis here, but it's connected with the general matter of political development by the institution which was most active in the first and fascinating of all fairy tales of science. So he's saying, amongst all of it, Egypt and Babylon give you a lot of evidence, but once again, the way we talk about them as if they weren't human. We talk about these words to say messages, but have you thought about what it was like when the kings wrote it down? You see, we think they were just, communicate. But what if they were laughing when they did it? Again, all of these things just point to a higher society than these lower barbarians we think they are. It is admitted that we owe most of the science to the priests. Modern writers like Mr. Wells cannot be accused of any weakness of sympathy with the pontifical hierarchy, but they agree at least in recognizing what pagan priesthood did for the arts and sciences. Among the more ignorant of the enlightened, there was indeed a convention of saying that priests had obstructed progress in all ages, and a politician once told me in a debate that I was resisting modern reforms exactly as some ancient priests probably resisted the discovery of wheels. I pointed out in a reply that it was far more likely that the ancient priests made the discovery of the wheel. It is overwhelmingly probable that the ancient priest had a great deal to do with the discovery of the art of writing. It's obvious enough in the fact that the very word hieroglyphic is akin to the word hierarchy. The religion of the priests was apparently a more or less tangled polytheism of a type that is more particularly described elsewhere. It passed through a period when it cooperated with the king, another period when it was temporarily destroyed by the king, who happened to be a prince with a private theism of his own, and a third period when it practically destroyed the king and ruled in his stead. But the world has to thank it for many things which it considers common and necessary, and the creators of the common things ought really to have a place among the heroes of humanity. If we were at rest in a real paganism, instead of being restless in the rather irrational reaction from Christianity, we might say some sort of pagan honor to these nameless makers of mankind. We might have veiled statues of a man who first found fire, or the man who first made a boat, or the man who first tamed a horse. New high. And if we brought them garlands or sacrifices, there would be more sense in it, a distinguishing of our cities with cockney statues of stale politicians and philanthropists. But one of the strange marks of the strength of Christianity is that since it came, no pagan in our civilization has been able to be really human. The point here is this, however, that the Egyptian government, whether pontifical or royal, found it more and more necessary to establish communication, and there always went in communication a certain element of coercion. But Chad, we're going to stop here at the top of page 41. I'm going to wrap it up there. We have another 10 more pages to go. But I hope you're getting this part of today. I don't know where your PHILO, what one-liner stuck out to you, but one, I think you're advanced. But then I actually do know what the PHILO is. I already stopped you for it. What are you choosing? Are you choosing what is better, or are you choosing what is simpler? Yes, we talked about your senses. We talked about your focus, but I like what he said there about democracy. That people often choose democracy simply because it's less complex. Believe me, man, a lot of times in my life, I go with the less complex answer. Or I don't even think about it because I just go with whatever is easy. Don't do that. Think about it. But I think we have a lot there to learn, a lot more to cover. I'm going to leave you with that. Don't forget about your intro. But Chad, take that one to the bank. That is your philosophy, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure guys are subscribed. We're live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes before open. Drop your thumbs up on the video. You're on mobile, press hot chat, X out the chat, hit the thumbs up button. Second link for the nightly watch list and mine channel. First link for the Screamalites boot camp and real estate. Love it. Love it. Which one should we? I want to hear drive slow, bro. Let's hit tacos and then drive slow. God bless America. All right, I'm going to free the chats. Dude, it's already power out. Time flies when you're in a cold. $1 for the tacos, $1 for the chicken. Used to think life rough then, but now I'm reminiscing. Dream is feeling distant. Supposed to have her, shoulda had her, but now I have her. So frustrating, so irate. So I'm just saying, why the fuck we so patient? If this was 68, we woulda had a riot. Now you speaking for the people and they tell you be quiet. I ain't buying it. Little guy defend the MNC, anoint them at the DNC. Why your social movement always benefit the S&P? The first place to look for enemies. Enemies, not your fucking family, nor your core beliefs. I hope you see the war beneath. Forget about the future, they say only grab what's in your reach. They ain't smiling at you, it's a battle and they showing deep. Taught you how to criticize so wisdom stay beneath your feet. Man, I'm feeling overlooked. They ain't even hungry, but they telling us that we cook. Hard to read the room if you can't even read a book. Yeah, hard to fake a smile when they sewn our mouths shut. Fuck, we won't even hear this. You won't even feel this. Jealousy override empathy and realness. A corporation steal this, repackage it and reel it. Evil so fearless, they're so shameless, saying I'm blameless. The generation filming in the moment won't say shit. Why we call it brain dead when it felt like our soul dead? Or maybe we just sold it. Oh shit.
Some people don't even have dreams, you know what I'm saying? But if you blessed enough to have a dream, chase it, bro.
I had a dream like Martin, then I heard a couple stories. Never met my heroes, never had one. Never wanted things I never had, son. I got it, then I grabbed them. Looking back these bitches,
I wanted another song. I just was peeing.
Don't ignore your
Remix
for the war.
That's crazy. Toriano. It was her birthday this weekend. Oh, no. Wow. Bro, that's crazy. No way you're 40. Good for you, bro. You look young. You got the heart, bro. Bro, let's go. You're right. New wave, baby. And Benny! Oh, we gave Benny his on Friday. That's crazy. Twins. Yeah, a lot of, bro, everybody got a birthday in March. You know that? Well, happy birthday, baby. I love it, man. Keep bringing that energy. No way, bro. Y'all got a lot of time. And let's go, man. Hunger. Bring it there. Hunger while at the same time not stressed. Don't overexert yourself. Don't wear yourself out, but do not be the wicked servant. Amen. We back. 561. I know you shocked, bro. You were saying it all morning. It's there, baby. My first property was a flip. But it was a weird time when I did it. My first property was I got lucky that I was getting into real estate right after the real estate had the biggest crash ever. So my first property was a flip, and then my second one was a rental, and then my third one, I was one that I actually lived in, believe it or not. But I would do the same thing all over again, or I would start with the first house to live in. Because again, like I said, mine was a flip, but it was just a different situation. But I would tell you guys to do the same thing. You know, if you ever found a house, in my case, it was a condo, couple $100,000 below market, and we had the inclination. I wasn't as experienced back then, but we had the idea that it was worth a lot more, and it was. And that was my first big flip. That's what got me my stocks. That's what got me a real good long-term and everything. And then it even allowed me to parlay into another property too, now with better likelihood, because it was a weird time. So, but I would tell you to do the same thing. If that's why I keep telling you guys, if you stumble across a deal, you buy that, you flip it, call it a day. That's what some of you guys are missing on. You're like trying to like prepare really deep on this, and you should for the one you live in and all that, but like you need to be able to find what a deal is, know what it is. Just like that one I talked about earlier. If you find a deal, you need to jump on it and think about it. Like someone the other day, I forgot what it was. We were having a conversation, and they're like, well, what about this? What about that? And I was like, dude, if you have a house 30% off, has $100K in equity, you buy it and then sell it, and then you'll make $100K. Don't worry about some of the other stuff. It's like shit like that. If you ever stumbled across that deal, I would do it. I will gladly walk you through that too. I'm not going to ask you to partner, but I'm just saying, like, any of you ever find a house and you're like, hey, this is well below market. May not be one you're going to live in, but I don't care where it is in America. If you have the opportunity to pull that off, that's a good way to build up starting capital, build up money for long-term anything, and then or the next property. So, yeah, man, do it. It was near me, so I got lucky on that sense. It was near me. Again, I think the idea of what I did, it's funny because back in the day, when I explained when I did it, before I was even live, just like because some people were shocked still too. It was much cooler doing shit when I was young because I was young. I was 18. People didn't believe me. But at the end of the day, it's like that was post Great Financial Crisis. So real estate was just different. I have no other way to explain it. So like there was deals everywhere right next to you, So nowadays I feel like it just, unless you live in like middle of America, like there's a lot of, I'm telling you, where was it? Was it Indiana? No. Fuck. Dude. Ohio's still hot. Indiana. There's another area I saw, dude. And I was like, what the fuck? But, dude, some of these middle of America places are still doing great. So, and they have cheap properties. I'm telling you, I was just going over Illinois' property with 2 units for $110,000. That was cheap. I think that property was worth $300,000, but it sold for $110,000 2 weeks ago. You have a mortgage, you have $30K in liquidity. How can I get to approve for a house that's a major deal? The house you live in, do you live in the house? So you won't get if you can't get the house rented, and there's no other way to like qualify on DTI, you have to go with hard money. Oh, and that's the thing. So I have updates so for that San Diego one. Are you guys still interested? I know, so that's why you guys asked me about it. I forgot who it was because there was like 10 of you. I emailed a couple people back. I still have them. Once I have the full details, I'll respond to everybody. But let me pull it up. So I have this property in San Diego. I got this one under contract and pretty much fixed up at market value. This condo goes for like $850,000. It's a nice condo, has a nice view. It's in a good part of downtown. So 5 of them, I don't know the exact ones. Lending tip, he just says 3 of them are easy. 2 of them you're waiting for the city. So because I'm having him do it for me on that one. But I was the guy. I was his buyer. But then I said I'm down to just flip it. I'm down to take it too. That's why I said give me the quote. But pretty much 2 you're waiting on the city. I think it has to do with water or pipes. And then he said 3 of them are easy. Let me see. But then essentially we're still waiting back on the city. But the property's worth like $800 something fixed up. I'm assuming it's going to need like $100K, but I need to get back the details on this, on like the actual code violations. But we have it under contract for $400 or $450 or $5. I got to double check. But it's in the 4s, 4 to 5, but it's like $300K of equity. But that's what I was saying there. But that one, are you ready? This was the caveat. That's why I'm telling you this. You have to use a hard money loan for that deal. So that was the other update. He said you can't use any other loan but hard money or cash. So that's why. This deal, nobody will give you money for this type of house. It's because of the city. You have to get the code violation cleared. So if you ever found a really good deal, Like, it has to be a steal of a deal. Just pull out. You could get hard money on it, but yo, KC King Soft, 10 cents. It's like 1%. Off market? Yeah, email me, tradingfraternity@gmail.com. I would love an off market. I thought NVO was green earlier. We had a good talk on it and went up. Even this SPY, bro, you're about to hit 559. And then bonds came up a lot too, so that was good from the moment we talked about it. We were talking about that other play. So yeah, SPY went up at the breaking point, but then bonds ended up going with it. Nice. And then Tesla to everything, bro. Look at low ticker, stop moving. High ticker, welcome to the end of the quarter, baby. 56.10. You still got it. This is actually a level. You got to get to like 56.17 to 22, and then, yeah, 56.37. You remember that yesterday. There's a lot lagging on, but then again, a lot came up on that. Let me get you the breakdown. So Dow Jones, 25 in the green, 5 in the red, and the 5 in the red are all tech and then Boeing. Microsoft, Amazon, NVIDIA, Salesforce, Boeing are the only names red on the Dow. And then the NASDAQ, 52 green, 49 red. So in the last like 2 hours, that shifted. Remember, it was 70 in the red earlier. So you had half of the losses turned green on the NASDAQ. And then SPY might be at 300, I assume, now. Woo! Oh, no. SPY's at 405. Bro, it was 50-50 earlier. So, yeah, everything is up, man. Literally half of the NASDAQ 100 is down, and then that's it. You have, again, lag 7, but that's not... I think the big names are lagging, but the quantity of other names are ripping right now because that's nuts. So today's actually a lot bigger underneath the surface. Well, well, wow. I just want my deposit and my cash and my long term. I love my long term. Long term. I like uranium, but everybody likes uranium. I'm not invested in it for the long term, and I don't think I will. I just don't like commodities. I think uranium is going to be critical for our future, but I don't know how to invest in it. And most people, I don't know that many people who get rich off of that, unless they're investing a large amount of money and then are like in the business of like selling it. But then again, you'll be put on a list if you sell uranium. But generally, it's important. I like it, but not to invest in. I don't like commodities for my long term. Long term's killing it today. I'm surprised. Bro, Chad. So what do you guys want to do? Should we hold cash for another quarter? Or should we? There's a couple of buys, bro. That's what I said. I've been liking NVO. I've been liking Nike. Or we could just, because after this deposit on Monday or Wednesday, Tuesday, we will have $9,000, but it'll only be like 3.5% cash. Oh, UPS? I don't know. We could either deploy or we keep chilling. Because there's 3 names that came down a lot. Literally UPS, Nike, and NVO. Those are or we wait for something better. I don't think those are diamonds. I think they're like rubies. Emeralds. I don't know. Nike's a good one at the low price. Or we could do all of them. We could buy all of them. Buy one set of NVO, buy one set of Nike, and buy one set of... I like Pfizer too, but I think Nike's a lot cheaper now. UPS is a lot cheaper. So that's what I'm saying. Relatively speaking, Pfizer's low, but I think these other names finally are hitting more multi-year lows. Meanwhile, Pfizer has kind of stayed pinned. Like, you see what I'm saying? Actually, yeah, well, UPS Let me overlay Pfizer and Nike. Yeah, see, Pfizer's already down, but these are all coming to it. And then who's the other one? NVO. Yeah, he's trying to match up there. Oh, Estee Lauder, but I don't know if I want cosmetics. I like Nike, but that's not necessarily the best industry, but I already own them. But I do like Estee Lauder. Did Myrna make a bottom? They fired somebody today, or someone stepped down from FDA, but I don't really like Myrna. I think that's a weird company. So I have no idea. Before UPS? I don't know. Well, that's the thing. All I'm saying is that I see all these names, and they're getting attractive. Like, some names got really attractive. We still have a limited amount of cash in our portfolio. So, you know, I've been raving about this plan of building it up, but that's where we're at with it. No, I don't like Elf. Not like that. Elf is expensive. Was it Elf or I saw Cody? Elf isn't bad, but Cody is a scam. Cody has a higher valuation than Elf. But like I said, Elf is pretty big. I kind of like them, and I liked how their sales were, but that was a really cheap stock back in the day. So that kind of sketches me out, but I don't know how I feel about the cosmetic industry. If anything, I'm either going to take Ulta or Estee Lauder if I'm adding women's cosmetics. But Estee Lauder pays a divvy, big brand, but they could still drop more. It's halved in value since we talked about it. But then again, I like Ulta a lot. Ulta doesn't pay a dividend, but Ulta, I think that is the Costco of makeup. It's at a good price still, too. It was cheaper a couple weeks ago. Or you wait for the stocks to bounce and show strength, no catching knives. Are you new? Have you not seen this? So, yeah. But I'm talking long term. It doesn't really matter, really. But we're looking at other factors, too. So, we'll see. But I think I'm going to wait. But I like these. I like all those names, and I see things, but if you just haven't bought anything for the long term in like 3 months, you guys, I don't know. I'm kind of getting bored. A lot of trades, but I don't know. I mean, I need some long term. So I like the cash. See, that's why this is hard. You gotta wait, and then yeah, Block and Square. I've always liked PayPal, and I think they've came down. I think I'm barely up on PayPal, or this is our break even. Oh, I mean XYZ. But yeah, I think they all came down. They gave up that little run because people wanted to buy them when they were up. I think you could get them now. Yeah, they're both at the same relative level. Yeah, Whirlpool, I think we're slightly down on that. I still like them a lot, too. ALGM? Whoa, ALGM. Allegro Microsystem? What the hell is that, bro? Oh, those are mad expensive. Be very careful. No. Don't do those 25 ones. You're going to get scammed. I already saw Homeboy get those. It's moving good, but they're very, very scammy on that. I'm going for another one. No, they won't fill that. All right, I whiffed on it. I didn't like those. The other one, it was too expensive on the short term. But that's a big pop out of nowhere. I don't have a play on that one, though. The options, they're really sketchy. So I was saying the 5 cent, well, there's a 5 cent one, but they were going for 25 or 75. Let me see. The chain is tweaking, though. Pfizer is the same kind of. The biotech's medicine, just they serve different medicines. What do I think? What do I do with the money? I just keep it in the account. I pulled out one account end of last year, and then I used that for a crib. But other than that, yeah, if it gets big enough, I buy a house with it. Otherwise, just it sits there for years until I lose it or make more. I either lose it all or get a house. You need another anchor, I feel. In due time, yeah, I don't have an Allegro. I don't even know what that was. I just popped. Like I'm saying, on some of those plays, if they pop and I don't know the news, if the play is cheap enough with a risk to reward, we could go for it. But other than that, it's not. Like that case, it should have been 5 cents for that play. I'm not paying 25 for it. Ever lost it all? I've blown up accounts, yeah, a couple times. I almost blew up one in front of you guys. That Apple short in 2019. And then that I took a big loss, and then we hit fat right after that. But then the account got big, but I've taken some big losses. I've even taken some big losses live. No, that Apple short was back in the day. Like the NQ short, we lost a lot, but again, we were playing with a lot more money and gains from that at that point. But dude, I sold calls on Apple in like 2018, 2019. It was like a spread play or like premium. In the whole account, I only had like 30 grand in that account. That was the account that I took to $250,000. And it was only 30 grand at the time. And then I was down, I think, 25K at one point of the whole account on that one trade. I was like, oh, fuck, dude. But then I don't know. I think I got out of it like barely. And then right after we hit TLT. And then that account turned into a fucking, woo. We hit back-to-back TLTs. Work through the emotions of big losses. I mean, you got to reflect a little bit, but then move on, I mean, is the best advice. Did I get filled? Oh, okay. Thank God. Okay, because I was bidding at a price and someone bought them. But it's so weird. Yeah, it filled 1 cent above what I was bidding. Fucking computers. Trump admin reviewing $9 billion Harvard funding over anti-Semitism. Am I doing a watch list tonight? I should. I mean, I do think yesterday's watch list will prepare a lot of you. And I hope you watched the video I have pinned on the trading fraternity. So if you even go to the second link, go to the trading fraternity, I pinned the video on the main channel. That's a good video to watch to kind of understand too, like just a lot of the like factors we're dealing with at this zone right now, which I think is very, very important. Lending tips long term? Dude, I don't even know. I think he just holds Dogecoin. He's an interesting guy. No, this is good. I think he's like real estate more. What did he say? We asked him this question though. Last time we talked to him, he said some smart ass answer towards real estate. All right, man. What a damn. It's crazy that there's names still red right now. At least the tech names. I think that's what's happening when you're like, it's lagging. Because I'm like, no fucking way, bro. Amazon's still down 1.5%. Microsoft is still down 1. Yeah. Only names that are down. Well, 5 of the names of only 5 names that are down on the Dow are all tech. Can't believe it's 12:30. Oh, dude, we only have 20 minutes. Damn. Habibi. I know, Tesla's still down. Let's see. Do we have anything today? You got PVH, Lending Pro, RCAT. You got a bunch of small-ass names today. Encino. Oh, restorations on Wednesday. That's funny. They're on tariff day. Tariff time. No, this ain't gonna hit. Scam. Oh, maybe they won't. I can't. Dude, the day's almost over, you guys. Isn't that mind blowing, or am I tripping? Am I just excited easily? I'm gonna calm down. I'll wait. Very wild. Dude, we started off bad. Bro, Walmart's going up. I don't think those premiums are gassing. Those little scammers. Oh, no, they are. Okay, finally. They just lagged it for a little bit. About the mindset. I think the video that is pinned. So go to the second link. All right. Hi. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So go to the trading fraternity. And then, I don't know if you go videos. Oh, well, I'm logged in, but there should be a pinned video. Do you guys see the pinned? Usually it shows the pinned video. What happened to it? Oh, but it was the latest live. So the next big tech crash, but I start the video with that. 800 point swing on the Dow. Yeah, I guess, huh? Because the Dow was red and now it's up 1. We hit some good staples. There is a double dip if you guys want. Did Pepsi come back up? No. But that one we hit. All the staples hit very, very well today. Oh. Yeah, all those plays came down, bro. Mm-hmm. Jim Cramer nailed it today. And then this is that quarter rebalancing. I mean, I was jumpy. I thought it was going to happen a little sooner and like materialize different, but typical last day. That's it. We just got a little calendar confused. Okay, spar breaking out a little. Well, let's see. Where's Plant was down 5 today. I was looking at restorations, but those are kind of hard to fill. All right, SPY going crazy right now. SPY, banks, Visa. I even saw a little bit of China in there. Meta now. I think Kramer does read the Twitter comments. That's why he claps back. Bro, I watched other day. I turned my CNBC on. My TOS was still playing. And then I saw Mad Money on there, bro. And I was like, you know what? That's very nostalgic. I liked it. It was like kind of nice watching it. Bro, why won't these fill, bro? Come on. Oh, Salt and Pepper. What up, Mr. 561? Shit, about to hit, son. Oh, what up? All right, man. Everything kind of taking off. All right, I'm going to buy this so that I don't get scammed. Okay, they gave me a good price. They're so annoying with the fills, dude. They just want me to tell them I'll pay more, and then they give it to me for less. All right, I did one more play that I'm going to ride for tomorrow. That's it. We got some good ones, though. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah, Walmart, I made a Walmart in the morning. That was one of my value plays. They just didn't go up as much, but I've only played values. So that's it. We lost on the SPY puts. We hit on everything else, and then a lot of value took us home. Looks like a bottom candle on the dailies. It could be, but now that's it. So think about what just happened. This is the end of quarter. If tomorrow goes up, then people are going to really be caught off guard. But you came into today with going down so much, everyone was like, no, it's not going to be a clearing event. But if this does bottom out, then Wednesday is going to be a clearing event. So we'll see. You made 25. You got a better fill. I got a terrible fill on it. And then that's why I'm saying sometimes I find these plays and then they're not liquid. But then when the liquidity comes in, you get a better deal. So you could always watch them and kind of pay attention. You'll do better. Yeah, everything taken off there. But watch out. This may not be permanent. You should have been ready for this. End of quarter, bro. Woo! Bro, you might, honestly, if you really feel ballsy, you might even get some more late stage here. Like low-key, it just might blow off. Go a little crazy. Yeah, all the contracts just went vertical. Every dead contract. So look, this isn't normal. Look at any SPY play on the daily. They're doing a fucking like a hockey stick right now. That's not normal. That's how you know you just got one of these crazy ass pumps. HMST. All right, bonds too. Yeah, dude, high ticker is full steam, bro. This is, again, we already saw it, but that little candle right here, that 20 points just made it go crazy again. That was just like that first 30 points we had right here or something. Yeah, that just made it go ape shit there in the final 30 or 15, really. All right, that candle just killed him. I killed that little green shoe. Hold on. That was big volume and big velocity. Let's see. Final 10 will be nutty. Oh, I know it. I'm telling you. Already, look at this. I was telling you guys there's like a record amount of buying coming in for end of the quarter. I just thought some of it would happen early, but and then, yeah, you'll see some in dark pools and after hours, but you generally should see. I was expecting a lot of activity, but I think you're just seeing it like right now in a very odd way. All right, if that goes down, the candles die. If that pops, those candles are going to rip again. So, and then watch, look at the bonds, bro. So there's going to be the bonds too. Again, I was expecting a bigger bond rebalance. So see what happens right there. The UVXY, bro, that's how, think about it. The market's low, and they're jacking up these premiums. So be careful. That's why I was saying I can't believe they let me get the UVXY that cheap, and then I can't believe I sold it that much, and then now it's still at a high price. That way they could scam everybody on both sides. Again, you were able to buy the UVXY for the last week for 400% lower for no damn reason. Just because of how they've killed the volatility at various points. So, yeah. Come to America. The bubble. I don't think you need the bubbles. I think even then, what we've been doing has been working a little bit so far. I think play the broader theme, stay up to date with the news, just be aware if the headlines actually hit. New data, always good to react to, and then value or growth, really. 'Cause I'm telling you, today I just played value stocks, and they all fucking hit. That's why I 0 for 3 on the SPY puts, but like it wasn't a down going day, and I lost $12, $20 on them, which is like, hey, better than buying and holding it and then letting it, go to shit. So I think there's some ways, and don't forget too, though, in the next 48 hours, everyone's trading plan might change. So we'll see. We'll see. Friday, yeah. Well, the last couple days, remember, it was Monday, Tuesday was hot. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday was terrible. And then the weekend rumor wasn't good. They were worried this morning. It went from doubting the clearing event to now it looks like a clearing event for sure. But we'll see. Just sadly, a lot of people know this is just window dressing. This is just the end of quarter. So unfortunately, it may not be indicative of anything really. Oh, my shit not loading. All right. Bitcoin led a little bit, though, the other day. Well, we'll see. SPY came down, though. That rocketed up the contracts, but now it's kind of chilling. Take note of bonds. There's a thing of beauty, ain't it? That's a pretty one right there. Indeed, my brother. Indeed. Look at him go. And he pays a yield, a good yield, high yield, even. Why? Beaut. Dead cat bounce. We've seen just get ready. We're still in the thick of it. Into the thick of it. You guys remember that? So we are in the middle of all of the chop. That Trump chop has not gone away. Hyundai warns U.S. dealers it may change auto prices after April when new tariffs are set to take effect. Hot dog. Hyundai. Your Elantras are about to be price raised. Or maybe they lower it. I don't know. But that just came out. Letter. I know. I thought they get the new tariffs or the new factories. They weren't going to exempt it, but we'll see. Trump going after LYV. Whoa. 10-minute rig? What do you mean? Hold on. El Coyote saying something about LYV and Trump. And then Amazon. Oh, look at that 10. Dude, this 10-minute rig is going to be gnarly. Hold on. I kind of want to make a flip. Get me in, coach. Put me in, coach. Hold on. But yeah, wait, what's the LYV stuff? Oh, I missed it. No, back out. Fuck, I had one. I whiffed, bro. I whiffed. Fuck, I whiffed. Oh, Habibi, I whiffed. Okay, I'll do these ones. Hold on. I think I whiffed it, though. Apple's even running. Yeah, I'm a fucking whifferoony. I'm going to get a job at Swiffer after this. It's bullshit. Yeah, I whiffed. I'm not taking it. I'm a fucking whifferoony. Boom. Ba-da-bop-bop-bop. Whifferoony, bro. No news, just 10-minute rigged. I want one, though. Patience. We did good today. Not on the SPY. but we got some bangers, dude. So yeah, I'm just having fun. Not anything detrimental. Don't hurt yourself. Bonds, U.S. Task Force to review Harvard grants. I'm going to go. Yeah. Alrighty. I know. Apple's still lower. Remember, the contracts we were flipping last week. Ooh. Well, never. I guess they were at like 227. This thing was at 216 today. Damn. All right, you're coming down a little bit. NASDAQ's still going to close red probably. So that'll be a down Friday, down Monday for that. But, yeah, let's see how we kind of wrap this up right now. But if you want to play the end of the day stuff, you're going to get the weird volatility. Volume still high. SPY had a record, or not a record, but a wicked close here after being down. Even bonds got a nice 0.5% off the bottom. So you got about 8 minutes. Is it sad? I need to go to the bathroom. Please hold.
Going to have a lot of people scratching their heads. We've seen this tug of war in the market, these huge sell-offs. The dip buyers come in. It's hard to understand what the psychology is, whether they're finding value or whether it's just kind of a repositioning of the ships. But a lot of people are still worried about what happens on April 2nd, and more importantly, what happens well after April 2nd when we start to see the actual ripple effects from many tariffs implemented. Are you worried?
No, not really. I'm never someone that gets upset about the short term. And these tariffs, I believe, are going to trouble markets for the short term, but markets adjust really quickly. The way I like to think about my markets is people showing what their ideas are, but they do it with money by buying and selling things, right? And we have just come out of an election season where pretty much the polar opposite of candidate replaced the incumbent candidate. So the markets have been processing this for the last, 4.5 months. And here we are at another pivotal point with tariffs perhaps coming in. Mm-hmm. And we still don't have a good feel for what these are going to do in the very short run. But I'm always looking 3 to 5 years out, not for the next 15 days.
Yeah. I am curious as to what's even drove the sell-off, because even before we got the rebound on this day, there were a lot of names in the green and a lot of names that are very exposed to economic conditions. Like,
that's funny, bro. All right, you're moving around. That's crazy that Bitcoin is moving. So you caused all of it. Man, they just dropped it down on the least important set of data, sold you off to a new low just for the last day of the quarter to bring you up. And then they're like, oh, my gosh. But, yeah, I don't think anything's changed, sadly. So that's it. You're just back to the lows of yesterday. Kind of that other point. You remember when it got, like, really ugly on Friday? You're just right back to there, back to the lows of the last Friday. And then now you got 2 days ahead of it. Trump signing an order to end price gouging. Oh, so that's LY. That's what you're saying. Bro, let's take one. It's either going to help them or hurt them, but I'm down for a cheap one if they're cheap enough. They don't have anything cheap on that chain. Yeah, they won't let that go through for cheap. Oh, nope, I got one. All right. Yeah, but be careful. I'll put the price then because you have to be, it has a $2 ask. But I got one in there for not $2. How much time we have? 4 minutes? Oh, yeah, they came down a little bit. There you go. So you just needed a little bit more. Cleared up. That's a wide, bro, we're at 559, bro. You're back right back up, too. And then Netflix, keep in mind, you do have some earnings along the way, brethren. Along the way. There you go. Marvel on the high. Bigly volatility. Well, get ready, man. Wrap it up. I can't believe it's already the end of the day. I don't know. Wait, no. What is the market on close? I'm sure it's going to be massive. Like I told you, the pension buying was just in the last like 20, 30 years. There's only been like 3 or 4 other times. 14 billion? Yeah. So I think 29 billion. That means the other 15 billion was spent throughout the day. So yeah. Yalla. Mm. 158. Yeah, if you could get close to this pot, it's up to you on how much you want to do it. So I was able to get one for $20. That's just, it's just a rumor. So you either get lucky by end of the day or not. But closer to the money, the better for whatever budget. But again, this is not, we're not betting on anything we know. We're gambling. You're guessing on the executive order hitting that stock. So if you're wrong, you're wrong. So keep the bar low. Inshallah. Inta arif, habibi. Inta arif. Allah. All right, SPY working its way back up. The rumor is that by the end of the day, we're going to get that the executive order is on price gouging middleman. It's from Reuters and TMZ. Sources at White House, Trump is signing presidential order to end price gouging by middleman in the entertainment industry. So that's literally Live Nation. So that's why I said I'm down. We'll take it. But don't risk too much. If you could get the other place for $10, I'm down. I think volatility, but closer to the money, the better. Bonds very weird. There's going to be a lot of volume there too. Don't forget, the pensions are going to buy bonds as well. I mean, damn, especially this year with everything going on. So make no mistake. All right, SPY's even about to break out right here. That's crazy. I'm looking at these SPYs. I had one on my other screen. Where is it? Oh, no, they suck for the end of the day. But still, fun time. Fun time if you wanted them. AMD on the high. Watch the chips. Dell bonds. Again, it was 13 billion. Oh, shit. 30 seconds. Go, 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 go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. The rebalance, man, $13 billion on market had me mesmerized. I couldn't, I got distracted with the clock. You better finalize all your plays now. But that is it, my friends. You have less than 10 seconds. You have actually important data, ISM manufacturing tomorrow, and then Wednesday, baby, Liberation Day, and everything goes crazy. But 3, 2, 1. Ding 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 ding. Horna, let's go. Woo! Oh, wait. Hold on. What is this? This has to be a typo. China banks increase consumer loan rates to protect margin? What? I didn't look into that. Otherwise, China should not be raising rates right now. But either way, Taradonia. Let's go, baby. We did it. We made it. 7 hours in the books. I don't care if you just got here or not. It's a big week. I better see you here tomorrow. I need a good game in the chat right now, baby. Drop that GG. It don't matter if you made or lost. I know you learned something. Amen. Good game, baby. It don't matter if you made money or lost money. Are you with Chad with the long term? That's what happens. It's not about one day. It's about every day combined, baby. Good game. Thank you for not getting banned. Oh, tomorrow I'm unbanning everybody. Unfortunately, though, it's still members only. But I'm forgiving you all. I would love to give you another shot, and I'll just as easily ban you, and you could just as easily send me a hate. I'm going to make a ihatejosh@gmail.com for all your hate mail, okay? And then I love you @gmail.com. Either way, get a fucking long term. That's how you show it, baby. Good game. Oh, no April Fools. I'm not going to April Fools them like that. That's terrible. Why would you think I would do that to them? That's crazy. That's wild work, but good game. I see you too, Twitch. They tried to cut you out today, but we still strong. Thank you for everything, baby. God bless you. Amen. God bless Caledonia. God bless America. Thank you to the best, baby. GG. Good game. Good game. I need me to rock. You won't see me a lot. Monday through Friday, you need me, let's talk. Okay. Am I mad or just passionate? Are you fam? Or just acting it? Okay, I'm gonna let it ride.
Am I mad or just passionate? Are you fam or just acting it? No, I talk a lot, but I always keep passing it. Gotta keep it in the roto. We are not the same, like rice isn't risotto. All the real ones know it's always no photos. Hit the market crash, stop backing, I'm the go-to. Just because you know me, that don't mean that I'ma know you. Man, talk starts non-stop, I am really him. If your name not Ben, we ain't really friends. Franklin at the end if you ain't getting that. I think all y'all do sedatives, or worse, I hope it's not hereditative. You ride the wave, but I invented it. I saved, and then I started lending it. Make trades, and I put
worst
it to
quarter
another
for the
That's a
NASDAQ
formula I did my
since
whole
second
life.
quarter
Learned the one was quick,
2022.
So he taught me how to fight. Said you being followed if they take 3 rights. If they don't want your chain, then they want your life. So I go and share both of those. If you kill me or you rob me, either way the money overflows. All about $1, you can tell my heart is really cold. Something in my head, cause my soul is getting really old. Don't let a gamble tie your mind up. Nah, don't let a bitch fuck your life up. It's true, nothing good happens at the night, bro. Money is fun, son, I hope you made your mind up. Tell me who the line up, show me where you find her. You could have a rollie, it don't matter when your time up. Handed him a Bible when he asked for a light, bro. We are not the same, like a lion's not a tiger. The difference is the difference. Ask my old bitches shit, ask my new bitch. Ask the YouTube and the Twitch. From the hills to the trench, in the game to the bench. The difference make the man.
Amen. Bro, you could have a rollie. It don't matter when your time up. You know what I'm saying? So, Caledonia. Crazy start, bro. Telling you. If you think today was crazy, just get ready for the rest of this week. Clearing event or not, if you haven't watched the video pinned on the trading fraternity, that's it. Just that's on you, bro. You're going to be left behind for no reason. Get on board, baby. Not as many earnings, but after this week, Friday, big data, and then next week, you'll really get the earnings. But we still got a lot in store, but great Monday. We have made it through, baby. I hope you guys are ready for more, but Caledonia, that is all that I have. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your time. Go read the books. Richest Man of Babylon, Proverbs, New Living Translation, and The Strangest Sacred in the World. And don't forget, while we're here, why we keep going, why that faith, hope, and love ain't ever going out of style. And why what? Why the focus. Focus is never lost, just moved. That's it, baby. Time to lock in. Are you going to meditate on it? Are you going to focus on it, baby? That's up to you. That's up to you. Why, baby? Why? Finger to the sky, baby. To God be the glory, and through the grace of God alone. Amen. Amen. So, Caledonia, a salute to you. You have a great day, a wonderful evening. God willing, I see you tonight and in the morning. Go enjoy the rest of your day, hopefully, and drive, give it a little more effort. Smile a little bit, otherwise it's don't remember, don't stress yourself out, but don't be lazy. But you better enjoy it. Enjoy the little things. You start to appreciate that. You'll appreciate the change a little bit. Oh yeah, don't get me started. Amen. But I love you. Thank you for your time. I will see y'all later, and peace. Hey, wait, let me come here. Let me get in here. Yes. Yeah, good move. After I would have been doing, I brought the market up. You guys let Trump in, now you're down. Biggest quarter since when I was president. Fuck you. Doesn't matter what happened. Yeah. Why is Newsmax at 100? That's fucking right-wing media for you, huh? And fucking, fuck them. Them fucking fake, fucking right-wing. What are you going to do and sell my pillows? Fucking sell a pillow. Hey, fucking, I just like to Reddit for fucking Republicans. Fuck you. Yeah. Fucking consumers sent it to me. I'm scared. I'm scarier than I've ever been. Oh, by the economy, with the tariff, and they're gonna tariff me. I should tariff Joe. I should do it. That's what I'm gonna do. I think I'll deport Hunter Biden. More like hunted. We're gonna hunt him down. I know it's scary. I don't care about the market. I don't give a shit. Bring it down. I don't care as long as the market crashes and saves the bond yields. That's all I want. Bond yields, low bond yield. Have you heard that song? I think it's the one with Little John. Is that his name? Little John. Get low. Get a low, get a low, get a low. You know that one. These people, they don't know. To the window. To the wall. To the sweat drops down my balls. All these countries call. They call me. Oh, tariff. Oh, tariff, goddamn. Now let me see it. Come on, bring the bond yields low. You're scared. Bring them to the floor. You're scared. I know they can't do it. They're scared. But we'll wait. We'll get it. We'll get it done. In the meantime, you gotta listen to Joshua. Get a long term. Guatemala. Okay, have a good day. I gotta get going. I gotta run. I don't think I run, but fast walk, brisk. Thank you. Goodbye. Ooh, hey, wait. Is the stock market gonna crash? Should I not make a long term? Oh, but Bloomberg, they told me to be scared. I am. What do you mean? Inflation's bad. It's not? What? Why not? But it's bad. Everything's cheaper. No. Oh, I'm scared.